Ladies and gentlemen, you better tie your shoes because we're gearing up for one of the most talented draft classes we've seen this decade. And I know a lot of people are talking about the top three, which is something that should be talked about. These prospects are extremely talented. 1, 2, or 3, whichever order you have them in, whether it's AJ at 1, Darren at 3, Cam at 1, AJ at 3. Whoever you have in your top 3, it's justified because all these guys are hella talented. But I feel as though nobody's talking about 4 through 7 or 4 through 10 or 4 through 15 because there's so much talent in this draft class and we're going to be covering it all season. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new episode of At the Buzzer Sports where we talk all things basketball all the time. My name is John Drummond and today we are going to be talking about the top 10 prospects in college basketball right now. I've made about 15 of these lists. Like there's a couple of guys that I feel as though should be on the list. There's a couple of guys that I may be like, should he be off the list? So this is fluid. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to be doing this about once every single month to update the top 10 prospects. We're probably going to be moving closer and closer as I get more film on these guys. I've watched majority of the prospects, at least first round prospects throughout this draft process. But we're going to continue to move to more prospects every month as the season goes along. The next one should probably be top 15, top 20. Then we'll move into top 30. And then by the end of the draft, process and when the draft comes along, I'm probably going to do my top 45 to 60. But I'm excited to get into this list. So let's get started. My number one prospect right now is going to be Darren Peterson. Darren Peterson only playing 2 games. He's only played 2 games. He's going to be reevaluated at the start of December. So we're going to see how early he can come back. But my number one prospect is Darren Peterson. And I think there's a lot of components that I look at with Darren Peterson's game versus the other two, which is AJ Dybantsa and Cameron Boozer. And I just prefer Darren Peterson's style of play. All 3 of these guys put the ball on the floor a lot. That's how they generate their value. That's how they generate points. They put the ball on the floor. Darren Peterson is the best. I also think Darren Peterson's the best jump shooter. I also think he's the best passer. And that's what makes me higher on Darren Peterson as a prospect and the surefire number 1 pick versus AJ Dybantsa and Cameron Boozer. If you guys prefer Cam Boozer and AJ Dybantsa above Darren Peterson, that's completely reasonable. But with me, I like the fact that Darren Peterson can get to wherever he wants on the floor. He plays well off the ball. He can get dribble penetration into the restricted area, into mid-range. He can knock down extremely tough shots, and he has a really good handle. And I just think he's the best scorer in this draft class. There are a few concerns I have with this game. Sometimes I feel his shots are a little predetermined. Like I don't think he has counters or in-action counters to what defenses are throwing at him. For example, there could be opportunities where he's playing in the pick and roll. This was a lot in high school and some in college as well. When he's getting played in the pick and roll and he's going up against somebody that's playing drop and he decides to drive all the way to a really trafficked lane and really congested restricted area, and he may not get the results that he wants. Or where they blitz the pick and roll, he's like, okay, I'm just going to take the shot instead of making the laydown pass, splitting the defense and getting to the rim. Some of those times where it's like, I'm going to pull up here no matter what the defense is showing me. I'm going to get to the rim no matter what the defense is showing me. And that's a sign that I don't necessarily love. But I do think with the relentlessness to the rim, the ability to get to the free throw line without just getting to the rim. He also has really good pump fakes. He also has really good body control, getting to the rim and getting to the mid-range to where he can get to the free throw line a lot. And defensively, I think he's really good as well. I don't think he's going to be some top tier point of attack defender like some of the guys in this draft class, but he can contribute to a top tier defense. I think he can play passing lanes really well. He gets off the floor really well when vertically contesting at the rim, which is something that's very impactful for a guard. I don't know how much he's going to be doing that, but he did do it a lot in high school, and I saw some of it in college to where I'm pretty confident that that's something that's going to be a nice counter to have as a defense. And yeah, I think Darren Peterson's great, and I think it's close. I don't think he's clear-cut the best prospect in this draft. I think you can make the argument for all of these guys. And what I think is pretty significant to me is I don't think he has the highest ceiling in this draft class. I think he's the best prospect right now. I don't think he has the highest ceiling. And the next guy I'm going to talk about, I don't think has the highest ceiling either. And that's Cameron Boozer. I think Cameron Boozer is phenomenal as well. Standing at about 6'9", 6'10", being extremely physically abusing as a power forward, being able to put the ball on the floor, get to the rim effectively. The concerns I have with him is I think he picks up his dribble way too often. And again, this wouldn't be a problem if he didn't play on the ball as much as you would want him to. But I do think he seals around the basket really well. I do think he creates really good positioning around the basket as well. And I think he goes up and finishes really well. Not as much through contact or through multiple bodies around the rim. I do think he struggles with that, and I don't necessarily factor that in as much because in college you play against a lot of zone, at least more zone than NBA. I think there's going to be a lot more spacing when he does get to that level. But when you are a physically imposing forward that puts the ball on the floor and that's how you score a predominant amount of your baskets, you're going to see a lot of crowded lanes. You're going to see a lot of crowded paint areas, especially against zone. And these collegiate teams are going to really stack up the paint. And that's just going to make your finishing numbers not look as good. Like Cooper Flagg last year through March Madness did not finish well around the basket, and it wasn't as significant, in my opinion, as to what a lot of people are making it seem. I think Cam's going to be fine. The only issue I would have is like, are you going to be able to physically impose as much as you would think at the NBA level? I do think he's still going to be very good at that, and I think he's going to get stronger, but it's just the concern of going up another tier of athlete and seeing what he's going to do against NBA players. Now, I think AJ Dybantsa has the highest ceiling out of the three of these prospects. I think he has the highest ceiling. And right now, I think he's the rawest prospect out of all three of these guys. I think he has the worst handle. I think he struggles getting to his spots, and especially against, I think it was against UConn in Boston in the TD Garden, where there was a couple of plays where he just could not get to the rim because the handle wasn't great. He got a traveling call. The jump shot is very iffy, but all of these signs, there's all of these signs that show that he can progress to everything he's been showing. He plays out of the post, and he has such a long wingspan that it's going to be hard to block his shot. It gives him like different angles that he can use around the rim, and he also has a lot of upside defensively, and he has a very like deep aggression or deep intensity on the defensive side of the basketball as well, to where I'm convincing myself that he might be number one. Like, I'm convincing myself, even though that he's not the best prospect right now, in my opinion, I think his ceiling is way higher. I wouldn't even say way higher. I would think his ceiling is like, I would be comfortable saying his ceiling is higher than Darren and Cam. He doesn't shoot often. He's more of a guy that gets downhill. He plays really well in transition. I think his defense is great, but all of these signs of him becoming a better mid-range shooter, becoming a better three-point shooter, he's already a really good finisher. He finishes through contact well, and he's going to be able to get to the free throw line a lot, to where I'm almost like extremely comfortable saying he has the highest ceiling out of the three. It's just a lot of it is just projection to what he can be, because a lot of the things that I think Darren Peterson and Cameron Boozer are going to be good at, I think I've seen enough to where I think that can scale up. I think AJ Dybantsa would struggle a lot as somebody that's going to have the ball in their hand as much as he possibly can. Now, there are some teams in the high lottery who aren't going to require him to have the ball in his hand as much. Atlanta, Indiana, the Thunder. You never know. But if he goes to a team that's like, look, man, we don't really have much here. Like, if he goes to the Nets, like, he's going to have the ball a lot, and AJ Dybantsa, if he goes to the Wizards, he's going to have the ball a lot. Him, Keyshawn George, Trey Johnson. I mean, these guys are going to split reps, and none of these guys are like legit number one ball handlers right now. So I think it depends on where he goes. But I think his ceiling is really high, man. I think that ceiling is really high. At number 4, I have Mikuel Brown Jr. This is my favorite prospect in the draft, man. This is my favorite prospect in the draft. He stands at about 6'4", 6'5". Again, I'm not going to really take the measurements into place as much right now because they can lie to us. All draft process last year, I was banking on Ace Bailey and Cooper Flagg being 6'9". They are 6'7". Mikuel Brown Jr. looks every bit of 6'4", 6'5". Don't get me wrong, but I could be wrong. So I'm not going to play his height into it too much, but I love his first step. I love his play out of pick and roll. He can pull up from three, which he's not the most efficient pull-up three-point shooter, but this is like the Jeremiah Fear situation where he has the ball so much that he has to kind of generate those three-point looks. But I do love his first step, and I love the passing out of pick and roll. Like, I think it's very, very valuable to be a young guard and be able to make reads, be able to make lob passes, be able to make lay down passes, be able to make skip passes. And these are like pre-advanced skip passes where it's like, okay, I've been throwing this lob all game. I know you're about to tag this roller, so I'm going to make this skip pass to the corner. I see him doing that. I also see him coming out of DHOs. I see him playing off the ball. I think he could be a combo guard. He does not have to be your lead point guard to start out. He can be a two guard because he can play off the ball. He can cut. He can get to the basket. He can get to the free throw line. And that's what makes it so interesting with Mikuel Brown Jr. It's going to be very interesting to see what team he goes to. And you guys are going to see in my mock draft later this week what team I have him going to, which I also think is a phenomenal fit. But I think Mikuel Brown Jr. is a fantastic offensive player. He shows a lot of effort defensively. And I'm very high on him. I'm very high on Mikuel Brown Jr. At number 5, I have Koa Peat, who is a very gifted inside the arc scorer. This is another guy who has like the strength and size to translate to the NBA. There's going to be somebody that I talk about a little bit later who just does not have that size, and I think that's something that's very concerning. I think Koa Peat as a post player, pick and roll candidate, and just inside the arc scorer is very talented. He has a really good mid-range shot. He gets to the rim effectively. I think he finishes through contact well, and I think he's going to be a free throw line merchant. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. I don't think that's something people should look at and be like, oh, this is a bad thing. This guy just all he does is get to the line. That's not a bad thing. If you're creating some of the most efficient shots in basketball by getting to the free throw line as much as you do, I think that should be something that should be praised and not punished. And I think Koa Peat, only thing I would say about his game offensively is his jump shot is kind of slow. He doesn't take any threes. He does not shoot threes at all. But I do think there's a polish with him inside the arc and the rebounding and the post play and just being able to have somebody that you can say, here, Koa, get the ball at the elbow, create a good look for us. Whether that's getting a good mid-range shot, getting a good post play, just having really good touch around the rim, or just a really good mid-range shot or getting to the free throw line. I think that's something that's extremely valuable. At number 6, I have Caleb Wilson. I think his upside is something that I'm banking on a little bit more than what I've seen so far, which obviously he's still a fantastic player. He's shown some mid-range shot making. His defensive versatility, his athleticism, the finishing around the rim, the rebounding, all of those things I would deem valuable. I just don't think his offensive ceiling is as high as it is for the 4 and the 5 spot I have ahead of him. But I do think his defensive ceiling is much higher, but I just have not seen as much of it as I've seen the offensive ceiling from Mikuel Brown Jr. and Koa Peat. And that's why I have Caleb Wilson at number 6. I do think he has some potential to be a very versatile defender. I think he's a very sloppy offensive player, which is nothing wrong with. He's still extremely young. But the mid-range shot making has looked good, the finishing around the rim, the offensive rebounding, and the putback scenarios he puts himself in, I think that's valuable. So I'm going to go with Caleb Wilson here at number 6. At number 7, I'm going to be going with Nate Ament right here. Nate Ament is tricky because he looks every bit of 6'9 to 6'11. He looks every bit of it. But he's very, very frail. He's very skinny. And he doesn't create space with the ball in his hand. And that's where I think as your ceiling may be effective or affected. But I do think he could be a very good off-ball player. I think this is what the same situation was with Ace Bailey last year. We saw the length, we saw the athleticism, we saw the shot making, but it's like, I don't know how much I trust you with the ball in your hand because you're just not able to create space, and now you're taking a bunch of difficult shots. And with Nate Ament, I think that is similar. I don't think he's the athlete that Ace Bailey was, but I do think as a shot maker, I think he's a much better passer than Ace Bailey was last year. I think that's still very valuable. And there's always defensive signs from an athletic 6'9" wing who can move his feet really well. But what really dropped him for me, because coming into the collegiate process, I had him at 4. My order was Cam, Darren, AJ, Nate, Mikuel. That was my top 5. now Nate is kind of moving a little bit down the list just because of his self-creation. And I do think once he does get to the rim, he finishes pretty well there. I do think he has a really good jump shot, and he can be a guy that makes quick decisions out of the pass, just touch pass opportunities, somebody that can keep an offense flowing and not necessarily be a ball stopper. And that's what we saw in the preseason against Duke. He got a lot of opportunities to create with the ball in his hand, and it just was not working because he did not have the first step or the strength to really become the lead shot maker that you would want him to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just hinders his ceiling a little bit, and that's why I had to drop him down. At number 8, I have Jaden Quaintance, and this is somebody that would be higher for me had he would have played so far. He has not played basketball yet. He played at Arizona State, don't get me wrong, he's a sophomore, but he stands at about 6'9", and to me, he's probably the best defender on this list. As a matter of fact, I would say he's comfortably the best defender on this list. But there's a little bit of concerns with his game. I don't think he's there offensively, but I think the defensive upside is extremely high that it's worth taking him in the lottery, in the top 10 even. I could understand it. I would just have to see how much better he gets as an offensive player, because being a 6'9" center in basketball doesn't necessarily get you starting minutes anymore. Like it doesn't get you starting minutes anymore unless you're like fantastic at what you do. For example, Alperen Sengun is like 6'10", 6'9". He's one of the two, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't quote me on that. But he's a fantastic offensive player, and he's gotten much better as a defensive player. And you also have one of the best rim protecting wings in the league in Ament Thompson right next to you. So who really cares? But I think if he wants to become a full-time 4 and be a starter in this league, he has to build some type of offensive structure to where defenses are going to care about you being on the other side of the floor. And he's shown some abilities to drive, to finish around the rim. He's extremely athletic, so I have faith in him. But for him to be able to move to the 4, because I don't see him being a 5, he would have to build a consistent jump shot or just build a consistent counter to what defense can give you. Can you drive and finish around the rim? Can you be a good short roll passer? Can you do something to make you valuable on the offensive end? Because especially in this era of basketball, if you're not going to be of value on the offensive side, defenses are not going to care about you. They are not going to care about you whatsoever. So that is my concern with Jaden Quaintance. I think he's a fantastic rim protector. I think he has so much potential as an off-ball or on-ball defender in space, a switchable defender, to where I'm good with putting him in my top 10 right now. At first, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to put this guy. I don't know if I'm going to put this guy in my top 10 because he hasn't played. He's still extremely raw offensively. No, I'm going to put him here. And that's okay. That's okay. At number 9, we are going to go. Hopefully I spell his name correctly, because please. At number 9, we are going to go with the guy, Tounde Yessoufou. I think Tounde Yessoufou is another very, very raw prospect, but you can see the upside in drafting him. This is somebody who was another guy that I explained earlier with Koa Peats, the Cameron Boozers of the world, the Caleb Wilsons, has an NBA body. He has an NBA body. He's extremely strong. He moves really well. He's a great athlete. He's a great defender. But again, it's the offense. And I don't think he's as far away as a Jaden Quaintance is on the offensive side of the ball. He's shown some signs of being a good mid-range shooter and good three-point shooter, which is something that's gotten better over time from high school to now. The only issue I see is the self-creation. And self-creation isn't the only possible way of being a valuable basketball player. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, when we look at 1 through 5, these are guys that can self-create to a degree. That's why I would say their ceiling can be a little bit higher than a Jaden Quaintance or a Tounde Yessoufou. That's why I have those guys up here, and that's why I have these guys down here. And that's no disrespect, because you're still a top 10 draft prospect. But I think Tounde Yessoufou has gotten better as a three-point shooter, mid-range scorer. He's always been a really good defender, especially on the point of attack and playing passing lanes. I think he's a really good cutter and finisher. But again, the on-ball reps aren't the best. And that's not necessarily an issue, just depends on where you go. I think a lot of people saw that he plays like Anthony Edwards. And he definitely plays a lot like Anthony Edwards. And I'm not talking about play style, I'm just talking about the form looks similar, like the body, the build, all of it looks similar. I would just say that with Tounde, especially in high school, he played a lot of like power forward and center just because of with his strength and build, to where you can see him finishing through contact, and that's why he's such a good cutter and he's such a good finisher when he gets the ball off the lay down pass. But the handle is not what you would want it to be for somebody that should be like your primary creator. And I don't think that's what teams are going to look at him for. And at number 10, this may shock some guys, I got Kareem Lopez. I have Kareem Lopez at number 10. Yeah, this is a last minute shakeup because on TikTok is going to say I have Chris Sinak at my 10th spot, but I think Kareem Lopez is better right now. And I think Chris Sinak has a lot of upside, don't get me wrong. I think Kareem Lopez is probably better right now. I see him being like a athletic Lauri Markkanen. This guy stands at 6'8", 6'9". He's probably going to be a small forward just because I really like his off-ball shooting and off-ball play. I can see him being a power forward. Don't get me wrong. But I love him at the small forward spot with how tall he is and how big you can get with lineups. I love his off-ball play. He's one of the best shooters in this draft. I think I would have to go Kareem Lopez with my 10th pick in this. And it's going to be tough between him and Chris Sinak. That is what I'm really looking at. There are a few guys that I would say have been in my honorable mentions. Some of my honorable mentions would probably be, obviously, Chris Sinak would be up there. He's probably my first honorable mention off the list. Another sleeper, Labyrinth Phelan, who I think is probably one of the most underrated draft prospects in this draft right now. Second-year player who was supposed to be coming out of last year. He was going to be a first-round pick last year. This year, it looks like he's probably going to be a lottery pick because he's gotten much better on the offensive end. He's shown some three-point shooting signs, some more ball handling signs, where last year I just saw him as a point-of-attack defender who can cut, get to the rim, be really effective there and play in transition really well, to where now it looks like he's getting some real on-ball reps, and they're starting to be positive on-ball reps, which has been very good for him. But the reason I went with Kareem Lopez is because Chris Sinak, he's still a very good player. But what I think he thrives on, which is play finishing, I think Kareem Lopez is better. I think Kareem Lopez is a much better shooter, even though Chris Sinak has shown that he can knock down the mid-range and play off the ball and play in DHO. I think he's a legitimate kick-out option. I think he's a legitimate, really good shooter and rebounder. I think Chris Sinak probably has him on the defensive side of the ball, but I'm much higher on Kareem Lopez's offense. And with Chris, I think he just fouls a lot. I don't think he could be a center, but I also think he could be a really good power forward. Yeah, I think I'm pretty comfortable with Kareem Lopez being number 10. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at my final top 10 prospects of the 2026 NBA draft. I'm going to let you guys take a look at this right here. And number 1, I have Darren Peterson. Number 2, I have Cam Boozer. Number 3, I have AJ Dybantsa. Number 4, I have Mikuel Brown Jr. Number 5, I have Koa Peat. Number 6, I have Caleb Wilson. Number 7, I have Nate Ament. Number 8, I have Jaden Quaintance. Number 9, I have Tounde Yessoufou. At number 10, I have Kareem Lopez. Number 11, I have Chris Sinak Jr. And number 12, I have Labyrinth Phelan Jr. Obviously, with 11 and 12 being the honorable mentions. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at ATB Sports 1. Make sure you guys follow me on TikTok at @TheBuzzerENT. And make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at @TheBuzzerSports_. And make sure you guys join my playback room where we will be streaming NBA content all season. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time. Peace!